Scoring is up, but don't fret. Kawhi's Sharktopus defense of old and the turnover-prone Warriors. In this week's 9 things I liked and disliked. Your eyes don't deceive you about scoring being up. But defense still matters. Kawhi Leonard is doing his best 2015 through 2017 Kawhi impersonation for the LA Clippers, and Golden State's foundational players continue to not be on the same page. 1. Don't worry too much about the scoring explosion. Scoring is indeed way up on team and individual levels. Every season now, 1 or 2 teams shatter the record, usually set in the previous season, for offensive efficiency. In the past 2 weeks, 4 players have scored 60 or more points in a game. 2 broader trends are intersecting, and which you conceive as most powerful probably determines whether you think this is a big problem. Offenses have gotten smarter and league rules have made it harder to play physical defense on the perimeter. In caveman terms, the most important change of the past 20 years is teams understanding how much more 3 is than 2, and that realization trickling down to youth basketball. There is more shooting everywhere. Defenders cover so much more space. Teams hunt for smarter shots. A scoring boom of some size was inevitable once the reality of math set in, even absent any rule tweaks. The individual scoring explosions are the result of more teams running everything through one alpha player. Scoring being up does not mean playing good defense is impossible, that nobody plays good defense anymore, or that good defense does not matter. 2 nights after Luka Doncic lit up the hapless Atlanta Hawks for 73 points, the schedule featured 2 games between contenders: the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Milwaukee Bucks visiting the Denver Nuggets. If you are fretting about scoring bursts and the alleged irrelevance of defense, or just seeking an antidote, watch those games. They were slow, tactical, relatively low scoring, serious basketball. They were a reminder that teams still win in different ways and play different styles, and that when 2 serious teams get together, you'd better bring your defense. Every possession felt important. That's what is missing in the 145 to 140 games that happen more often. Scoring is easier, and everyone knows it. In lower stakes games, which can manifest in teams holding back urgent effort on some defensive possessions, confident they can undo the damage once they get the ball back. This has always happened over the grind of an 82-game season, but it is more pronounced now. The real scandal in Doncic's 73-point eruption was not his individual scoring or Atlanta's defense against him, though it was not good. The real scandal was how easily Dallas scored when the Hawks doubled Doncic. One pass from Doncic blew up the entire defense. Rotations were slow, confused, or non-existent. No one below the trap really did anything. They just kind of watched the Mavs play offense. It was embarrassing. The Hawks shrugged, took the ball out of the net, and snapped back to attention. We can get it back on offense. In big games, that won't cut it. The best teams know that. The outputs may be higher, but your defense still has to be effective on a relative scale. Not every game is a big game, and some of those scoring bonanzas have a carnivalesque and almost gruesome feel. So what's the solution? There are 2 general areas the league could address: officiating and math. On the officiating side, you can't nominate the return of hand-checking. No one wants that. Free throws are down. The NBA legislated away some of the ugliest foul grifting. Shooters kicking their legs out or jumping sideways, point guards slowing down to engineer collisions in the backcourt. Those are offensive fouls now. There is still room to help defenses. Referees too often reward players for driving into defenders, flinging their bodies at them and barfing up some non-shot. More of those should be non-calls. The league might also discuss allowing minor contact on drives. A defender riding the ball handler's hip with one hand, for instance. Some coaches want more stringent enforcement on illegal screens. What about allowing defenders to hang in the lane for 4 or 5 seconds instead of 3? Skeptics might counter that officials rarely call defensive 3-second violations as is. Maybe so, but the threat of that call impacts how big men position themselves. The league might worry that defenders lingering longer in the paint might depress rim attacks, which are exciting. If you turn to math, you are talking about more structural issues. Eliminating corner threes, making the three-point shot longer, or something more dramatic. Math nerds might suggest making 2-point shots worth 3 points and 3-point shots worth 4 points so the gap between them is not as big in proportional terms, theoretically decreasing the incentive to hunt what are now threes. To put it lightly, that amounts to a sea change. The game may be a little out of balance in some matchups, but the biggest games still feel hard-fought, pretty fair battles between offense and defense. That is doubly so in the playoffs, when officials allow more contact and look past more foul baiting. 2. Do worry about Kawhi Leonard, including his floater. When players hit their mid-30s, it's fun to go back and watch games from early in their careers. Aging is gradual. You almost don't notice it until it becomes glaring. But it leaps off the screen when you revisit games from 10 years ago. Chris Paul used to move like that. Is the roller safe? Oh God, he's there too. And if you were not an expert dribbler, like a point guard level expert, you could forget about even trying to dribble anywhere within a 15-foot radius of Leonard. He would just take the ball. Sometimes he didn't even need you to dribble. He'd literally just extend his massive arm and snatch the thing from your breadbasket. Ask Ben McLemore. Real fans know. Leonard won't regain that level, but for the second straight season he's getting about as close as anyone could reasonably hope, at least with games in the balance. He is accepting some of the toughest defensive assignments from the opening tip. In crunch time, he might shift assignments if the Clippers need to shut off someone's water. Against the Thunder last month, the Clippers moved Leonard onto Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the last few minutes, and Leonard promptly swatted a Gilgeous-Alexander layup off the glass. Leonard is averaging 0.9 blocks and 1.7 steals, in line with his peak numbers. He's 7th in deflections per game and recorded a preposterous 10, one of the biggest numbers I can remember, against the Washington Wizards on Wednesday. Thanks for watching NY Sports News. Stay tuned for more updates.